Remember those lazy Saturday afternoons when you pocket a few coins from your allowance and head down to the corner store. The wooden floors creaked under your sneakers. The air smelled like fresh popcorn and polished brass, and every shelf held a treasure waiting for just a nickel or a dime. Those were the days of the 5 and 10, the granddaddies of our modern dollar spots, places where a kid could feel like a millionaire. But time has a way of sweeping even the coziest corners away. Today, we're flipping to the faded snapshots of 10.99 and dollar stores that vanished before the Dollar Tree era. Chains that brought joy to generations before the big green signs took over. 10. Sprouse Rights, the West Coast Nickel Nook. It's 1909 in Tacoma, Washington, and two enterprising fellas named Clayton Sprouse and Harry Wrights opened their first little shop, stocking everything from penny candy to shiny tin toys for no more than a dime. What made Sprouse Rights special was that cozy neighborhood feel. They grew to nearly 400 stores across the West, where families could snag a birthday gift or a spool of thread without breaking the bank. Folks loved the wooden counters and the friendly clerks who knew your name. But by the 1980s, bigger discount chains muscled in, and after a rebrand to Sprouts for their 80th birthday bash, the last store shuttered in 1994. It's a quiet reminder how the little guys sometimes get lost in the shuffle, leaving behind only echoes of laughter in empty aisles. 9. Duckwall ALCO, Kansas Heartland Bargains. Back in 1901, down in dusty Abilene, Kansas, A.L. Duckwall Sr. hung up his shingle with a simple promise: variety at a penny's pinch. Duckwall stores dotted the Midwest like friendly beacons, offering up farm-fresh notions, colorful yarns, and gadgets that made homemaking a breeze, all for 5 or 10 cents in the early days. They were the go-to spot for rural families, where you'd chat with neighbors over bins of buttons and bolts of fabric. As the decades rolled on, though, rising costs and competition from flashy new supermarkets squeezed them tight. By the 2010s, the Duckwall name faded entirely, with the last ALCO outpost filing for bankruptcy in 2014. Today, driving through those wide-open plains, you can't help but miss the simple sparkle of those sunlit shelves. 8. Neesner Brothers, the Urban Dime Delight. In 1911, brothers Lewis, Henry, and Nathan Neesner lit up Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, with their first 5 and dime, turning everyday errands into an adventure with walls full of wonders priced a dime or less. These stores became city staples, buzzing with after-school crowds grabbing comic books, hair ribbons, or a fresh deck of cards, always with that unbeatable value that made every visit feel like winning a prize. The brothers' touch was in the details, gleaming glass cases and seasonal displays that whispered of holidays to come. But the post-war boom brought tough arrivals, and by 1978, after peaking at 175 locations, Neesner's handed the keys to bigger players like Ames. Flipping past old family albums, those Neesner trips still warm the heart, a soft glow from a time when a dime opened doors to delight. 7. J.J. Newberry, Pennsylvania's Penny Palace. John Josiah Newberry kicked off his chain in 1911 right there in Stroudsburg. Talk about a dime store hotbed, with shops crammed with affordable joys like glassware, toys, and even a soda fountain for a nickel treat. Newberry's charm lay in its heartland hustle. By the 1970s, over 400 stores served up budget-friendly basics that kept tight-knit communities stitching and smiling through tough times. Remember the thrill of picking out a new pair of socks or a puzzle for pennies. Yet, as malls rose and prices climbed, McCrory swooped in for a 1972 buyout, and the Newberry name dimmed by 2002 amid the parents' woes. It's like losing an old friend, the one who always had just what you needed, right when you needed it most. 6. G.C. Murphy, the Rust Belt's reliable retreat. George Clinton Murphy planted his flag in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, back in 1906, crafting stores that were less about flash and more about folksy dependability, everything from candy sticks to curtain rods for a song. Murphy stood out with their no-nonsense variety, becoming lifelines in mill towns where a dime bought dinner fixings or a doll for the little one, fostering that warm sense of community over shared counters. After a near-miss scare following George's passing, savvy execs from McCrory nursed it back to health. But the 1980s discount wars proved too fierce. Ames gobbled them up in 1985, closing the doors for good. Peering back, those Murphy visits feel like hugs from yesteryear, wrapped in the scent of oiled wood and possibility. 5. W.T. Grant, The Quarter King's Quiet Fall. William Thomas Grant dreamed big in 1906, launching his 25-cent store in Lynn, Massachusetts, where even the priciest pick hovered at a quarter, perfect for working families stretching. Every cent Grants exploded to over 1,200 spots by the swinging 60s, beloved for credit plans that let you take home a toaster or teddy bear on layaway, turning shopping into a hopeful ritual. The lunch counters hummed with chatter, and the aisles overflowed with heartfelt helpers for home and hearth. Alas, overexpansion and a credit crunch led to the era's second biggest bankruptcy in 1976, shuttering them overnight. In the hush of hindsight, Grant's whispers of what might have been, a gentle giant fell by its own grand ambitions. For S.H. Kress, the architectural gem of the South, Samuel Henry Kress unveiled his first outpost in 1896 in Memphis, Tennessee, blending nickel-price necessities with stunning store designs that turned shopping into sightseeing. Think marble floors and murals that made every errand elegant. Kress stores, with over 200 by mid-century, were Southern sweethearts, offering up spices, stationery, and sundries that spiced up daily life without denting the wallet. Their lunch counters were legendary gathering spots, where civil rights sit-ins etched history into the heartwood. Sold to McCrory in 1964 and phased out by 1981, they bow to broader retail tides. Gazing at those ornate facades now repurposed, you feel the pull of pride in places that built both communities and character. 3. S.S. Kresge, from dime to discount dynasty. Sebastian Spurring Kresge opened shop in 1899 in Detroit, vowing no item over 10 cents, and soon his stores were Midwest magnets for thrifty treasures like lace doilies and lunchbox lunches. Kresge's magic was in the mix, affordable arrays that inspired impulse buys, from jewelry to jelly beans, all under one soda-scented roof. They pioneered self-service, speeding folks through with smiles and savings. But as the 60s dawned, Kresge pivoted to bigger Kmart formats, closing the classic dime doors by 1987 to chase larger dreams. It's a bittersweet tale, like watching a favorite uncle trade his easy chair for the open road, full of promise, yet tinged with the loss of lazy afternoons. 2. J.G. McCrory, the survivor that couldn't. James G. McCrory sparked his chain in 1882 in Scottsdale, Pennsylvania, with humble 5-cent shelves that grew into a nationwide network of neighborly nooks by the early 1900s. McCrory's won hearts with rock-bottom prices on ribbons, records, and remedies, plus those irresistible ice cream counters that turned errands into events. At their peak in the late 80s, 1,300 stores served as social hubs, where stories swapped as freely as the goods. Bankruptcy hit in 1992, and by 2002, the final lights flickered out under mounting debts. Recalling McCrory's is like thumbing through a well-loved diary, pages filled with the quiet joys of connection, now gently closed. 1. F.W. Woolworth, the king of the 5 and 10 throne. It all started in 1879 when Frank Winfield Woolworth flipped failure into fortune with his Utica, New York store. Nothing over 10 cents. And suddenly, everyday magic was within reach. Woolworth soared over 2,000 locations worldwide, iconic for popcorn machines, goldfish bowls, and those legendary lunch counters where greens met dreams over grilled cheese. They captured the American spirit, affordable abundance that let families build nests and nurture notions with pocket change. Yet, the 90s brought brutal competition from supercenters, closing the last U.S. doors in 1997. Woolworth's lingers like a cherished heirloom, evoking the wide-eyed wonder of simpler spends and sweeter scores. There you have it, 10 treasures from a time when a dime could light up a world, now tucked away in our collective scrapbook. Which of these old haunts tugs at your heartstrings the most? Drop a comment below, give us a like if it stirred a smile, and hit subscribe so we can keep unraveling the threads of yesterday together. Until next time, keep those memories close, and maybe spare a nickel for nostalgia.